May 29th, period 4, Friday, the last time I get a chance to talk to you guys. A couple things to hit with you guys first. I had kids ask me, I told you guys I had a little note thing that I was using because I didn't get a chance to cover all the information I wanted, and it has little quotes on there that helped get me through it because yesterday was definitely a tough day. I am sending out that as a copy. If you are interested, I'm putting it out on my Remind 101. And then I can also, sorry, that's not emotions, that's just the fact that my throat's going out. And I'll also put it on my website. So for those of you who want to see it, because I had kids who, for whatever reason, wanted it. And I can't give the same piece of paper to everyone, so I figured this way I would just do it that way. It makes things easier. My voice, I apologize for. It's going out. It is not because of the feels or emotions, which are things that I don't believe in either way. But one, yesterday was a long day for me with the talk that I give, and then going from the talk that I gave to the yearbooks, and I had 20-some yearbooks to go through and sign, which is not a bad thing. It's an incredible thing, 'cause I can't believe that many kids let me take their yearbooks home, and I had to write those, but it's exhausting to do it. And then I had a high school kid come by and talk to me, and I got a chance to catch up to him because he was one of those kids who made poor choices and then made good choices and then made like varsity lacrosse and then blew out his ACL, and he was coming to me so we could talk and try to help him get through life things, which is also good but exhausting. And then I took my daughters last night to their first ever concert, which was also exhausting, which was not Lana Del Rey. Not taking them to that one. Not that there's anything wrong with her, but my daughters are 8 and 10. I took them to downtown. There was a Weird Al Yankovic concert. And if you don't know who Weird Al Yankovic is, one, shame on you. And then two, you should find out about this new website that's come out called YouTube. And you can type things into it, and Weird Al is awesome. And my daughters are my children, which means that they have nerd cred. And so my daughters have embraced their geekiness early, and I'm very proud of them because Weird Al is very nerdy and geeky, and my daughters were so excited. And there's nothing like watching your children cry tears of happiness. So watching my daughters cry tears of happiness was exhausting last night too. So all of that kind of took its toll on my body and my voice. So I'm doing my best to push through and get through today. You will get a chance to see me one more time because we don't have 7th period today. We only have part of 6th period because we have the Heroes Awards, and I will be down there for the Heroes Awards. I kind of get to run part of that. And so I get to give one last talk and speech and goodbye to you, and we get to present awards and good stuff like that. So you do get to see me one more time, so we have that going for it. I'm going to talk to you guys about class in general, but you also get a chance to vote because I have a number of things that I can do with you and not a whole lot of time, so I'm going to let you choose what direction you want to go. My 8th graders, you don't get to vote. You're just here for the ride. It is just my 7th graders, and those of you who are not 7th graders from this class, you don't get to vote either. And it's nothing against you, but this is 4th period's time, and they get to control it, not you guys. The 2 choices I give to you are, one, I have a continuation from yesterday, where I get to go in a direction I didn't get to go with any of the classes yesterday, which is good, but the drawback is more feels and emotions and stuff like that. And so you can go that way, or the other way, which is much more uplifting and lighthearted, because you get to laugh at me a lot, which apparently is highly entertaining. And it is the story of my first fight that I got into when I was 8th grade football. And I got into a fight, and apparently it's a highly entertaining story that involves a phone ringing. I'm assuming it's someone calling and trying to track down one of the 50 people in my room.
It'll be my money.
Yeah.
It's probably me.
Lady, did you ask?
Well, I kind of got a teacher to ask, so that's a good idea.
Her mom's here. She had to go. It's all good. No trouble.
Mr. Gurley, but he's not here.
So, my 7th graders, I'm going to give you a chance to vote real quick so we can figure out what direction that you want to go. So, if you are wanting to go to the emotional sad one, so let's go emotional feels. Raise your hand on that one.
Oh, yes, I love you.
And then if you want to go for the uplifting spirit of me getting into a...
I want to watch you. I want to hear you get beat up.
All right.
Oh.
Well, then, Apparently you guys like emotions.
No.
Good news is, I did tell the story of the fight already, so it's on YouTube. So if you feel the need to go to that new YouTube place, you can go on there and you can listen to the entertaining stories of me and getting into a fight and stuff like that. Oh, before I forget, the pictures that are up there behind me, since people were entertained by the first 4 years of my teaching, that's like the first 10 years of my teaching. And so I went ahead and just threw those up there so you can sort of idea. And then I threw 11 years of my teaching, and then I put up my 7th and 8th grade years up there to try and help you out.
The black and white ones.
They have no.
That's 7th grade, that's 8th grade, that's...
Oh, I thought you
said
7th and 8th grade teaching. I was
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No. Oh, hooey. The white thing I gotta turn off.
Sorry, I'm kind of like in walk.
To work in stories from these people. These are kids that are from my junior high also that I got a chance to get to. But I want to get to these. It's my 7th and 8th grade, and then my friends. The next one, Mr. Brown, is my best friend who I met when I was in 6th grade. And I was friends with him all the way through today. He and I still hang out. And then next to him are Mark and Mike, who were 2 of my best friends when I hung out in junior high through 7th and 8th grade. And then the girl over here is the girl I had a crush on all throughout junior high. And I put it up there because it seems to entertain people so I figured, why not? It's embarrassing. It makes life fun. And so I threw that one up there too. Let's see, I got to figure out real quick, time-wise. This has got to be really speedy. I think we get done in here like at 1:35.
Yep.
All right. And I'll do the best I can with the limited time that we have. What I want to get into is, for you guys, we read the book That Was Then, This Is Now. And I told you that I went through similar issues that they face in that book with Mark and Brian, and the fact that that hit me hard. In junior high, I was best friends. The 4 of us would hang out all the time. And actually it was the 4 of us, and then these 2, Vince Kuiper and Chris Whiteman, were part of that same friendship group. And then in junior high, it was that group of friends that you hang out with all the time, that you think that you're going to hang out with forever. What you'll find out is as you go from junior high to high school, that the friends that you are friends with now won't be the same people that you hang out with by the time you get done with 8th grade, and especially by the time you get to high school. Those friend groups are going to change quite a bit. It doesn't feel like it now, but it's the way it happens. Then it was to the point where we hung out to each other's houses. We did sleepovers. I remember I did my 12th birthday, my 13th birthday, my 14th birthday with them, as close of friends as you could possibly imagine. And going into my freshman year, so the beginning of my freshman year, prior to me getting arrested, I was still shoplifting at this point and making poor choices, but I didn't drink at this point because my whole family thing. I knew that the drinking led to badness, which still scared me. But starting my freshman year, the 4 of us we'd sit at the same lunch table every day. We got lucky because you get the same lunch, and I know how important that is when you get the same lunch with your friends, and all 4 of us got the same lunch. But Mark Bloomley had an older sister who was a senior our freshman year, Rainey. And Rainey was a hippie and big into drugs. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that Rainey was special and was quite the interesting kid. But Rainey had parties at her house on the weekends on a regular basis because their parents would go out of town. And Mark would get invited to these parties because he lived in the house, and Rainey thought it was hilarious to give him alcohol. And so he started drinking, beginning of our freshman year at these parties that his sister threw. And Mike started hanging out there too, which was a tough experience because Mark invited the other 2 of us, Eric Brown and myself, invited us to these parties too. And neither one of us wanted to go because of the drinking. Me, because of the fact that I knew how bad my family was with it, and I was scared to get into it, and him because he was just a good kid. And so we didn't go to the parties. And what's weird is when your friendships change over the next couple of years and drugs and alcohol are going to become a part of your life, it's not like you imagine it's going to be in the movies where someone offers it to you and you have this big moment where you have to say no. That's not always the way it happens. It's a slow process. And that's what it was here. It was a slow process of losing a friend. Because when we didn't go to those parties, when they invited us and we said no, they didn't judge us. There was no thinking differently of us. What it was is they started hanging out with other people. And not in a bad way. It was just because they went to those parties, they started hanging out with other kids that went to those parties. And I remember it was my first 9 weeks of my freshman year that Mark and Mike got invited to go over to a different lunch table. At the high school, you don't have to worry about not being able to move. You go wherever you want to. And they got invited to go sit at the seniors' lunch table. And if you're a freshman, that's a big deal to go sit at a seniors' table. And because they were getting drunk on the weekends with those kids, that they got invited to go over to their table. And I remember it was a big deal for us because we were so excited at the beginning of the year that all four of us got the same lunch. And then 6 weeks later, a couple parties into the year, they were like, hey, I remember the conversation, like, do you guys mind if we go eat at that table? And of course we minded because it hurt. Because these were friends and they were choosing other people over us. And it hurts when people choose other people over you. But at the same time, how do you say no? Be like, no, I don't want you to go hang out with those really cool kids. I want you to hang out with us. So we said, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And so they went and hung out with them during lunch. We still stayed friends, but we saw each other less and less. On the weekends, we would get together and do things, but oftentimes on the weekends, it wasn't hanging out with us anymore because they had that other group of friends. And what it was having to make a choice. And when you have to make a choice with drugs and alcohol, it's a slow process. It's one of those things where I could see it happening, but it's not like I had to make a choice and say, it's my friends or it's drinking. It was one small choice at a time, and I lost my friends. These kids I hung out with all throughout junior high. By the time I got halfway through my freshman year, I didn't hang out with them anymore. It was over the course of one semester, and it wasn't because of a fight, and it wasn't because of anything that we did to not like each other. It was just that slow drifting apart through choices. What you're going to have coming up in the next year, for my 8th graders that are in here, probably the next couple months, if it hasn't already been presented to you, is you're going to have some of these choices. And it's not always going to be a matter of you being presented with it head on. And it's not going to be a kid handing you a joint or handing you beer and offering it to you there. It's the idea of, do you accept going to that party? Do you accept going to the place where you know it is? Saying no is not easy to do. And I wish I could tell you that it's an easy choice to make. But it's not. Because I'll let you know, a lot of times when you say no, you're saying no to friendship. That you don't get to keep hanging out with those same people because they're going to go a different direction. And it's something you need to understand because I think it gets glamorized a lot. Glamorized meaning that it makes it look like it's easier and better than what it is. When you guys have the commercials and people talk to you and they say, just say no because it's easy. When you say no, it's a tough choice to make. And I understand that it's a tough choice to make. And it's not a matter of me telling you which choice to make. Because some people make the choice of drugs and alcohol because of peer pressure, but that's not the main reason. Kids in high school don't turn to drugs and alcohol for just peer pressure. They turn to it because there's pain in their life. It's why kids drink, to cover pain. It's why adults drink, is to cover pain. It's why people do drugs, is to cover pain. Because life is full of pain. The stories I've told you were the pain in my life. Being arrested, the fight that you guys didn't get a chance to hear, they're all things that are painful. And when you have painful things in your life, you don't want pain. Pain sucks, and you want to make pain go away. And that's why kids turn to drugs and alcohol. And so that's why my friends turned to drugs and alcohol. Because it's not because they were bad people. It's not because they were bad kids. It's because they had pain in their life. And I even understood at the time that they had pain in their life. So when you move forward, I just want you to be aware of why you make these choices. That when you're presented with these options to do these things. Yeah?
Tati left this in Mrs. Grant's room.
Thank you much. You just put it. Oh, you can go grab it. It's okay. When you get presented with these choices, to understand the weight that's behind them. If you're strong and you have happiness in your life and you know who you want to be, then you don't have to have drugs and alcohol because it serves one purpose, to kill the pain in your life. When you hear about kids who do self-harm and hurt themselves, you have to understand that ironically, they do that because there's pain in their life. Because I have students who self-harm, who cut. And cutting is the same thing as drugs and alcohol. It serves the exact same purpose. It allows you to control your pain. You're going to have pain in your life. You cannot avoid it. At any point, there will be bad things that are going to happen to you. It's why I tell you my stories, so that you can see the pain that I went through. My goal for you is to give you the strength to deal with it when it happens. To give you the strength to understand the reasoning behind your choices. If it comes to the point where you have to make that choice, and you realize you're not strong enough to make the better choice, think about why. And that's where the not judging comes in also. And I tell you all this because I want you to understand that I understand why those choices are made. And I understand why some kids have to go down that path. But I don't want you to go down that path. Because when my kids come back to tell me that they drink when they're in high school, when they're smoking pot in high school and college, all that does is tell me how much pain you're in. And there's healthier ways to deal with that pain than going down that path. Vince Kuiper, the kid over there on the left, was a kid in that group of mine who, when I was in junior high, was a close friend. To the point where he lived in my neighborhood, and he would come over every day after school. It was to the point where my parents let him into our house when I wasn't home. Sometimes you'll have friends like that your parents sort of adopt, and they let them come in also. I remember we would come home sometimes, and the whole family, and we'd find him in our living room eating our Oreos, watching TV, and my parents just accepted it. And I never understood why at the time. I just knew that they were always really nice to Vince. And I found out later on that Vince had a really bad home life. And from there, let's just say, leave it at that. You get to see me at the end of the day. Vince had a bad home life, and life's good. We're happy. Take off. Run away.